Welcome to the first ever episode of the newly christened Gull Mouth Action podcast, where we take a look at all the latest goings on at Brighton Hove Albion, Crawley Town and Sport in Sussex. I'm Matt Pole, and I'm joined by Brighton Hove Albion writer Derren Howard, Crawley Town expert Mark Dunford and Sussex sport guru Steve Bone. Brighton left it late to claim an excellent point at home to Liverpool on Sunday. We'll pick over the bones of an absorbing Premier League encounter with the Amex and reflect on Albion's season so far, going into the October international break. We'll also have all the latest from Crawley Town, who took on Hollywood-backed Wrexham last week, and look ahead to this weekend's 3 FA Cup fourth qualifying round ties involving our clubs from Sussex. You can read all the stories we are talking about with videos and pictures online at sussexworld.co.uk/sport, and you can check out other great videos on shotstv.com and Freeview channel 276. Albion had captain Lewis Dunk to thank as they played out a 2-2 draw at home to Liverpool last weekend, a result which leaves them 6th in the table before the international break. Sum that game up for us, please, Derren.
Yeah, it was one of those performances after the Marseille game, Brighton took a little while to just to get into their rhythm. Really, it was always going to be a tough game after that, but they took the lead through Simon and Dingra, and really impressive display from the young attacker. He's a player who impressed in pre-season, so he joined a while back and then spent a year on loan in Belgium, and he's come into the team this season, and he's mainly been used as an impact substitute from the bench, but against Liverpool he was in from the start, and he was the man of the match basically, and I think he made the difference for Brighton, and his goal that he opened the scoring for Brighton with a really well taken goal, took the chance nice and early, and got Brighton into a lead. But then it was a bit of a mad 5 minutes, really, just towards the end. Some sloppy play. Lewis Dunk, first of all, he gave the ball away from the defence, and Liverpool capitalised. And then again, it was an error from the keeper, Bart Verbruggen. Gave the ball away. Pascal Gross conceded the penalty, and Liverpool were back in the game. But again, Brighton, they do make it difficult for themselves sometimes. You think, they're so good. They're so good on the ball, in possession. If they can just cut out these errors, then they're really going to be challenging at the top end and potentially maybe a top 4. But if they keep making these mistakes, that they're making their lives very, very difficult for themselves at the moment. But when they do make the mistakes, they seem to find a way to come back into the match, as they did against Marseille. And they kept going and ground Liverpool down in the end. And it was Lewis Dunk who made the mistake for the first goal. He popped up from a set piece. Nice delivery in from Solly March, who played at left back in place of Pervis Estupiñán, who's injured. And good finish from Lewis Dunk, really, and a nice point. And it gives them a bit of a boost going into the international break.
Well, you mentioned Simon Adingra there, Derren. As you mentioned, he was on loan at Belgium last season, and I followed him quite closely, and he's got an eye for goal. A famous example of a player who's gone from the Union to Brighton pipeline is Japanese winger Karo Mitoma. And without meaning to saddle the lad with loads of pressure, Derren, do you think Adingra has the attributes to replicate Mitoma's rise and impact at the Amex?
I do, absolutely. I think he looks a real good find. Not only in his attacking display, but similar to Mitoma, he puts in the defensive work as well. He tracks back, he makes the tackles, which you have to do in a De Zerbi team, especially when those positions when you're playing wide on the flanks. You need to really graft and put the miles in. And he's a player, when he gets the chance, he has that extra quality as well in the attacking areas that we spoke about. I saw him in pre-season. He was on the tour of America, and he scored a similar goal against Brentford in pre-season, where he was chasing through, took it early, and when you take the ball early from outside of the box, it catches the keepers by surprise. They weren't set. Alisson really didn't expect it coming. Expects the shot to come in from that angle and so soon, and even a keeper of his quality. It made him look a bit silly, really, and it was such a great finish from Adingra, and I think there's plenty more to come from him. He's like I say, he's mainly been used as an impact sub. He's only had 3 starts this season, and he's got 3 goal involvements already, so 2 goals and 1 assist to his name from 3 starts. So I think it bodes really well. And he's a player again that Brighton have just plucked from nowhere. There didn't seem to be anybody else in the running for him, similar to Karamatoma. There didn't seem to be any people interested in signing him. Brighton moved decisively. Had a year on loan in Belgium, where they go under the radar, but make some really good progress, adapt to the European football. And then they unleash him in the Premier League, and he looks another really, really good find. So very, very promising.
Speaking of another potentially good find, freshly from telling hostile Marseille fans to Firmino Lebush, or words to that effect, in the Europa League last week. Midfielder Carlos Baleba made his full Brighton debut against Liverpool. He's another fresh face that I'm pretty certain that not many of us have heard of. But how did he get on against Liverpool, Derren, and how has he got on so far since his move from Lille in the summer?
So yeah, as you say, arrived from Lille for just over 20 million, and he's a player that Brighton identified as a replacement for Moises Caicedo, who left for Chelsea last summer for 115 million. And yeah, he played. So he was introduced against Bournemouth, came on as a second half substitute against Bournemouth in the 3-1 victory, and looked pretty good. He then struggled on his full debut against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup. And De Zerbi said actually afterwards that he's not yet ready for first team football. He gave the ball away quite regularly. Tactically, he looked a little bit uncertain as well. And you kind of thought, especially after De Zerbi's comments, that we may not see him again for a while. He might spend some time just getting to know the system. But then lo and behold, he was thrust in against Liverpool, and he was him and Adingra one of the best players on the pitch. It wasn't a really tactical game. It wasn't one of the games where Brighton were under pressure as they were against Aston Villa. It was a very open game. Both teams had plenty of possession, and I think that suited Baleba's game down to the ground. He seemed to have the freedom to play, to drive forward with the ball. And in that type of game, he looked really good against a very experienced and classy Liverpool midfield that included Alexis McAllister as well, the former Brighton player. So he more than held his own against a very good Liverpool team. But he's only 19, but he looks a player of raw talent with plenty more to come. Very powerful, very athletic, but good on the ball as well. So yeah, looks. I think he's a player that the fans are really going to love.
Talking of McAllister quickly, it was a nice touch with De Zerbi walking around with him after the game, wasn't it, on the Saturday? Yeah.
It's it just showed he got a really good reception, McAllister, and I'm glad he did as well. Sometimes the players come back and they can be a bit of a pantomime villain, but McAllister was great for Brighton. He played such a key role in getting them into Europe, so I was pleased that the fans gave him a good reception.
Our only World Cup winner as well, isn't he? So good.
Yeah.
I'm sure Moses Caicedo will receive a similar reception. As mentioned, popular bloke, isn't he, old Moses Caicedo at Brighton? Brighton's 6th, as I said at the top of the podcast, in the Premier League after 8 games. They're also third in their Europa League group, but they are unfortunately out of the Carabao Cup at the third round following defeat at Moses Caicedo's Chelsea, funnily enough. All things considered, Derren, how would you assess Albion's season so far?
Solid. Like really, I'd say De Zerbi has performed well to get Brighton into 6th. So they've won 5, lost 2, drawn once, and I would say that's a pretty good return considering the 2 best midfield players from last season have gone. They've had a couple of injuries, and also they've had to bed in the new players as well. And I think De Zerbi has been not quite certain of his best 11 at the moment. Hence all the changes that's taken place. So it's been work in progress, and I would say it's a solid start so far as well. And the Europa League games have taken their toll a little bit. The one against Athens was a disappointing result in particular. To lose 3-2 against Athens at home, who were perceived to be the weakest team in the group, perhaps. It doesn't always work out like that, but that was what the school of thought was going into it. But again, they kind of shot themselves in the foot in that match as well. So defensively, they're all at sea. Lewis Dunk wasn't available for that one, and that was a big blow. So, but they kind of with the draw that they got in Marseille, amazing occasion, amazing atmosphere for all the Brighton fans who went out there. I think that that can give them confidence to go on to say, okay, we had a shaky spell, we didn't lose it completely, we managed to regroup, refocus, and we proved that we're good enough to compete in this competition. And I think that draw is really going to be quite big for the rest of the season and the rest of their Europa League campaign. So yeah, pretty solid start for Brighton, all things considered. Excellent
stuff. Moving quickly on to Crawley, they slipped to a second consecutive League Two defeat on Saturday, going down 1-0 at home to Disney Plus's Wrexham. The Welsh outfit went down to 10 men on 66 minutes after Andy Cannon's wild challenge and Adam Campbell. The Reds couldn't find a way back into it. How was it on Saturday, Mark? It seems like it might have been a bit of a circus, all things considered.
Well, it was and it wasn't. It was asserted the fact that it was a record league crowd, I think it was, for Crawley, 5,572 people there. But it was just a bit of a disappointing game in total. I mean, it was disappointing that Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhaney weren't there, so we didn't have that part of the circus. But I was disappointed with the way Crawley were great until the final third, and they were really disappointing. They scored 20 goals in September in 6 games, and now they've gone 3 games without scoring, and they were just really lacked in that final third. And Wrexham were disappointed in the fact that they scored and then they sat back and just did nothing for just for 70 minutes, and it was just really disappointing in that sense. And Crawley could have won that game and they could be higher in the league.
Excellent. Well, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will discuss the draw with Sutton United in the EFL Trophy. Tuesday evening then saw the Reds play out a 1-1 draw at near neighbours Sutton United in the EFL Trophy. Sutton would eventually win 5-4 on penalties to claim a bonus point. But where does this result leave Crawley in their quest to reach the knockout stage of the competition? And is there an appetite to reach the knockout stages? It's kind of viewed as a bit of a black sheep of the trophies, isn't it? The EFL Trophy, Mark.
Well, this, it is. But for this season, I think it is really important competition for Crawley because they've gone through the first half of the season with 1 or 2 injuries to like Dion Conroy and Ben Gladwin, Kellen Gordon. But in previous seasons, we've got to this stage and there's been about 8 injuries to key players. So there's the squad players that haven't had the chance to get lots of minutes under their belt. So I think Scott Lindsay views this competition, and they've got the Sussex Senior Cup as well next Tuesday at Worthing. And I think they'll see that as a real opportunity to give all these players lots of minutes. And what was interesting, and Scott Lindsay said it afterwards, the process that he's trying to implement, how they're playing this keep the ball, possession-based football, attacking. Every player that played on Tuesday night, any of those could have fitted into the first team squad, as it were, and they would have known how to play. That's exactly how they played on Tuesday night. Again, it was like Wrexham. They dominated the game. They dominated possession, just could not get that sort of clear-cut chance or just that cutting edge up front. So I think, this competition is important, and they're still in the driving seat to get out of the group. They're top on 4 points. Charlton and Sutton, who play each other next, on 3 points. And then Aston Villa, I think they might have got 1 point or 2 points from a penalty shootout win. So if Crawley win, they're through. But I think even if they draw or get and get the bonus point, they're through as well because of Charlton and Sutton playing each other. So I think it's a really, and I mean, it's a stretch to think they might get to Wembley. As we know, Crawley are one of the few professional teams never to play at Wembley. But you've got the likes of Oxford United, one of the biggest teams in League One, Steve Bone, Portsmouth. But you've got so many big clubs in there. But it depends how important the other clubs see this competition. But if Scott Lindsay wanted to, I think he could get them quite far in this competition with the football they're playing. They're going to come up against sides who won't realise the kind of football Crawley are playing, and they're playing some really good stuff. They just need to add those goals to possession.
Well, much like Brighton, unbelievably, Crawley have no games this weekend due to the international break. The Reds' scheduled trip to Morecambe has been postponed as the Shrimps have apparently reported 3 or more international call-ups for their first team. With no game on Saturday, Mark, I suppose now is the time to reflect on Crawley's season. How would you assess the campaign so far?
I mean, if you look at it from before they even kicked a ball this season, it's been a really impressive start. They're 8th in League Two, just outside the playoffs on goal difference to Wrexham, funnily enough. it's been really impressive. Like I just said, the football they're playing is the best football I've ever seen. I've sort of covering Crawley on and off for 20 years now. And it's by far the best football they've played. They've got some real talent there. I mean, Liam Kelly has just been outstanding. It's a shame because he was missing against Wrexham because of concussion. He got a head injury in a 2-0 loss at Doncaster. And obviously there's protocols now with concussion and head injuries. They have to do 7 days of clear training. I can't remember the exact rules, but he has been absolutely outstanding. And it just really showed. I mean, people raised a few eyebrows during the summer when they got rid of the likes of Ashley Addison, James Tilley, etc., and then brought in 15 new players. But Scott Lindsay has got them playing fantastic football. And it's really good to see. It's disappointing. Like I said, they scored 20 goals in 6 games in September, and now they've gone 3 games in October without scoring a goal. So it's a little bit of a concern. They're just lacking that sort of firepower and cutting edge up front. But with the likes of Danilo Orsi, Adam Campbell looks really good. Clyde Lolos, when he comes on, I mean, he played a lot of when Ben Gladwin off injured, he came on and played sort of number 10 role. And he looked really good, Clyde Lolos, but it's just getting that final chances and scoring goals. But generally, it's been an amazing start, and I don't think any Crawley fan. I mean, the only disappointment is that they were joint top before last weekend, and now, before last weekend, and now they're suddenly 8th. So they're just what could have been if they'd beaten Wrexham, which they should have done. I don't think anyone can say they deserve to beat Doncaster, but if they'd beaten Wrexham, they would have still been up there in the mix, and it would have been sort of in dreamland for the Reds fans. But 8th is still beyond what a lot of people predicted and expected for Crawley. So a really good start. If they can avoid injuries, Ben Gladwin limped off with a worrying-looking injury on Saturday. But they should stay around there. And if they can be in the similar position come April, then playoffs is not a dream at all. I think they could be there.
Well, fingers crossed. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? This Saturday, sees 3 Sussex clubs compete for a lucrative place in the first round proper of the FA Cup. Worthing face National League South rivals Bath City in the 4th qualifying round, while Isthmian Premier pair Horsham and Lewis take on National League opponents Dorking Wanderers and Aldershot Town, respectively. Steve Bone, which of our sides do you think has the best chance of reaching the first round proper, and what would it mean for these clubs to be in the hat for Monday's draw?
You would have to say that of the 3, Worthing have the best chance. They're playing a team from their own division. They're at home to Bath City. Not an easy game at all, but they've got a fair chance of getting through there. Whereas our other 2 sides are both up against National League opposition. So Lewis got a tough trip to Aldershot, who are currently 9th in the National League Premier. That's going to be difficult for them. Again, not impossible. You know, it's the FA Cup, and these sort of games don't always turn out with the form book. Horsham are at home to Dorking, and again, you'd probably say, you know, if you were judging Horsham or Lewis as to which of those has got the best chance, you'd probably say Horsham. Now, Horsham very strong at home. They've beaten National League opposition at home before, so not without a chance. But you know, probably if one of the 3 is going to go through, you would say Worthing are the most likely. In terms of what it means, it's massive, really, because the first round, and we get the draw for the first round on Monday afternoon. First round is when all the League One and League Two clubs come in. So you could be looking at a tie against Pompey, Oxford United, to before Mark Dunford says I've missed them out. Charlton, Bolton. You know, there's a lot of big sides in League One. And the prize money aspect is worth looking at too, because if you win this weekend in the 4th qualifying round, you get a £9,000 prize pot, which is pretty good. If you get through to the first round and win in the first round, 41,000. So it's a big leap up, and that, you know, to any of those 3, any of those 3 clubs, that's a big boost to the budget for now and for the future. So lots to play for on Saturday. And let's hope all 3 can get through, but if not, certainly one of them.
I'm going to Horsham Dorking on Saturday, and apparently FA rules dictate that you're not allowed to have a beer in view of the pitch, which I don't understand. Is that an FA thing that they've decided to do, or is it just no fun allowed?
I think it's been a rule for a little while. There's different rules about what you can do in non-league grounds at FA competition games. It seems I don't know, it seems a little bit extreme, doesn't it? It seems to be sort of making a mountain out of a molehill, really. But you'll just have to have your beer either before you go or in the clubhouse.
So, Matt, you can have fun without drinking, you know that.
No, you can't. Don't be daft.
Drink
Wasn't there a Horsham player that celebrated a goal by downing a pint of
Yes.
Was that in the FA Cup?
Terry Dodd. Yeah, that was that was quite a few years ago now.
Yeah, I remember seeing it on the back page, I think, a while back.
But yeah, no, best of luck to all our sides.
Yeah, great occasion though for all three.
It'll be a great occasion, yeah.
Yes,
really
Horsham is a sellout, so also nice little money spinner there for them. Very quickly, Steve, you also had the FA Trophy draw on Monday. Horsham, Bognor and Lewis are in the draw. Who have they got and how they get on, do you reckon?
Yes, so we've got 4 teams in the next round of the trophy, which is the first round proper. Bognor at home to Gosport. That's a team from the same level as them from Step 3, so they have a chance. Horsham are away to Lark Hall Athletic, who I must confess I don't know much about, but Horsham are in good form, so not without a chance. Lewis go to Dulwich Hamlet, who are in the same league as them, and don't forget Whitehawk, they're in as well. They're away to Kingstonian. We still have Eastbourne Borough and Worthing to come as well in the trophy, so 6 sides really still in the trophy. Lots of chances to get through, and it'd be nice to think that one of them could go all the way.
Very, very quickly, we'll have a stroll down Steve Bone's score prediction corner. Steve, England play Australia in a friendly at Wembley on Friday. Considering the conditions, do you reckon they should have a better outcome?
Yeah, I'd take England to win by about 7 wickets in that one. So it's football. Is England playing Australia at football, are they?
They are, and we're all positively giddy about it.
Seems to be a waste of everybody's time, really. I don't really see the point, but I'll go for a 3-1 win for England in that one, I think.
Mark, very quickly, what do you reckon?
2-0 England, it'll be dull.
Derren?
Yeah, I'll probably go with Mark, something along that. 2-0, 3-1, something along those lines, I think.
And then England have got Italy in a Euro 2020 qualifier on Tuesday. Is that the most nailed on 0-0 draw in the history of football ever? Lads?
Yeah, I think so. That's what I was going to predict.
Derren?
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if Lewis Dunk plays in that one. Obviously, he had a great game against Scotland in the previous international camp. Yeah, I think England will win that as well. I think Italy are a bit. Mancini's just gone, hasn't he, to Saudi Arabia? 2-0 England, I think.
And Steve, finally, what do you reckon?
I'm going to go for ex-Bognor defender Lewis Dunk to get a start and to score the winner in a 2-1 England win. Remember where you heard it first.
Absolutely. And as I can see, we're all cock a hoop and we look forward to... No, we don't. Only joking. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us, chaps. You can catch up with all the latest sports news covering everything we've talked about today at sussexworld.co.uk/sport. And you can watch more excellent videos on shotstv.com and Freeview channel 276. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you all next week.